Hey there, everyone. Welcome. It's Lotus, Art of Sacred Embodiment. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for sharing this time with me whenever you're here. And I wanted to say I'm happy to be here. I've been sick for a few days and coming up out of it. Been laying low, resting up, and I'm going to also do a sacred pause video for you today. I did that before. I did one before the cough phase of everything hit me. And this is going to be a redo of one of the last videos that I did. So just a heads up, if you watch that, this will probably have some repeats in it. Also, before I begin, I want to invite you to my first live YouTube call, which is going to be on Friday, the 10th at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to be diving into the spirals of the sacred feminine. It's going to be an introductory call about the direction that Art of Sacred Embodiment is taking this year, and it's full of a lot of deep, wonderful content and experiences, and that doesn't mean just the intro. This full journey that we're going to be stepping into is both embodied, it's quantum, it is the sacred and the divine, and we're gonna look at some new templates and really how we're expanding through this next phase of our evolution and why the feminine principle is of the utmost importance. So we're gonna move in that direction, and so I hope you join us on Friday. So you can get you can be notified when the video is going to become live. If you have already subscribed, that's great. You can just go to your home page or to your subscriptions and put notify me, and that way you'll certainly get it when we go live. And also, obviously, you can get the replay. If you haven't subscribed and you are interested, then that's going to be the easiest way to access it is through subscribing. So I would love that if you felt called to join me on my YouTube channel. All right, let's begin. So the question that I posed and that I've been posing is, do I live from the outside in or the inside out? And these are two orientations that ideally we want to have a balance in, and we want to have a harmony in. However, the predominant principle to maintain the balance of this inner and outer dance is the feminine principle. It is the feminine elements of water and earth. So most of us are oriented towards living from the outside in. Why is that? Well, because that's how we're deeply conditioned to live. And we'll just say that it has served its purpose, and it has overstayed its visit in its purpose as well. And we also can look at this as that excessive externalization of our life, right? So that governing principle of the masculine that really holds the characteristics of going and doing, achieving, success oriented. Now, I'm not saying these things that they're bad, but what I'm saying is that the excess masculine is out of balance, and it is a consciousness that does not serve us when it is one-sided, right? It's one side of the coin. And for thousands of years, this has been how we've been operating. We all know this. So I don't need to go into like all that detail of the programming and the conditioning and the way in which the material world pulls our energy out. Excuse me. And and gives us experiences which are great, right? Life is full of experiences. That's part of what we have come here for. That's part of why our soul has incarnated on this planet, is to experience things that cannot be experienced other than through the physical form and the human blueprint. However, while that was perhaps one phase and stage of our development, the phase and stage of our development now is geared not as much towards experiencing that which is, I've been terming it lately like a smorgasbord, right? We have a smorgasbord of life out there that if we think of smorgasbords, we tend to go to a smorgasbord if they're even still around. And one of the tendencies I know for myself and many people at smorgasbords in the past, at least when they, were popular, is there's sort of this overeating. There's like this lack mentality, this lack urge that, oh my gosh, these are things that I can't get, and I just need to get everything that I can now, right? So I'm trying to take what I feel is lacking from the inside, from the outside. And oftentimes not always feeling really great at the end of that. So there are very specific programs and conditioning that we have been conditioned into how to live and what it means to live in this, in this world, particularly in developed societies. But that's changing, and part of what's changing is that now we're recognizing we're actually here. The purpose of ourselves being here is our evolution, right? Excuse me. It's to evolve into the remembrance of our highest expressions and potentials that are beyond our limited thinking up to this point. However, now those limitations are being removed. Those veils are being removed. And the amazing experiences, so to speak, if we want to talk experiences, they're going up in octaves. And the way to experience these higher potentialities of the divine human must take place from anchoring more deeply into the sacred feminine. So what does it look like, first of all, and what does it feel like when we are governed by the external world, by the outside in? We're living from the outside in. When that is the case, when that's our orientation, then what tends to happen is we're very dialed into the group think, right? We're very dialed into what it's kind of like what the Joneses are doing, right? Back in the day. It's like keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with, oh, this is what society says is successful. This is what, this is what happiness looks like. It looks like, how much can I get from the outside world to make me feel happy and fulfilled? Whether that be, friends, whether that be the amazing home, the cars, the clothing, the vacations, all of those things, which in and of themselves, of course, that's part of living here. That's part of this incarnation in a Western society, right? In a developed society. But that's not actually what do I want to say, right? That has served its purpose. That is not really what is serving our purpose right now. And that keeps us on a hamster wheel of the old systems that are collapsing. And in order to keep that momentum going, there is happiness that is found from the outside. And when conditions, situations, people, places, things are no longer there, then we're at a place of lack. We're at a place of loss. We're at a place of feeling disconnected. And when we are on the trajectory of the ways in which we feel like we have been programmed into what does it mean to feel safe and secure, which are important qualities of that root chakra, right? How do I feel stable in the world? Root chakra. And intrinsically tied up in these is the programming of the money systems, which are not, I'm not saying they're bad or wrong, right? But they are misused. There's the money systems, and then the slavery that we don't usually think that we're in, but there's a slave mentality and consciousness that is overlaid, that we become workers in order to thrive. That we have to keep up with the grind for our survival and stability and safety. Now, I'm going to say that, and if you're living, if this is your orientation and you're not familiar with another orientation, you're probably going to think, well, of course, right? That's what we do. That's what we do. We go to school, we get a job, we work, right? We make ourselves safe and secure. But that's what we do because that's what the systems have told us that we do, because that was one level of our experience of how to operate and function. From the I am the doer, right? My will is what gives me the things that I need or want. And I have to make that happen. Otherwise, I'm going to be disconnected. I'm not going to be safe. I'm not going to have what I need. Okay, so there's that lack. So underlying all of this is fear. Okay, fear is intrinsic with living from the outside in. And lack and not having enough is intrinsic with living from the outside in. Not really, and I'm going to give a really basic example of this, which I have found, very interesting over the years, and a little bit of a heartache over the years. There have been people that I have come across in my life, beautiful people, lovely people, who, and I'm just going to generalize it into a very simple example, who, let's say, for instance, they didn't know, and we'll just say like this maybe for a woman, because this will probably fit that a little bit more generally. We'll use one for a man, one for a woman. Right? So for a woman who didn't know or doesn't know, like, well, what kind of clothes does she like? What kind of clothes look and feel good on her? What kind of colors express her? What kind of, what kind of environment, right? Maybe her home, because these are both very feminine expressions. What feels good in my home? What colors uplift me and feel nourishing? So somebody who is only living from the outside in, who needs an external validation or even dictation of what looks good, what should feel good, and what, oh, well, you would want these things in your home, right? So they tend to ask, well, what do you think, right? That tends to be a common, like, well, what do you think looks good? What colors do you like, right? How should I wear this? What should I wear this with? I know this is kind of a weak generalization, but just hang out with me. So that is a very basic level of not knowing thyself. Not knowing a very, personal and unique ways that we would express ourselves from the inside out. All right, so let's look at the masculine, a man. A man is going to gather his importance, his respect, from the monetary value and perhaps the job or career that he has. And because society has told us, right, this is what success looks like, and that then becomes the masculine identity. So when that masculine identity, this is most common with men, or at least we hear about it mostly with men, when that starts to hit, let's say midlife crisis, right? When a new phase and stage starts happening in life, right? Psychologically, emotionally, different parts of us come online through different stages of our life, right? So the masculine begins to feel like, whoa, I've been doing all of this. What is it all for? Now, he's going to have two paths he can go on this. Generalization. One is he can start to go within and start to explore what his life has meant. What is the meaning that he's created in his life? The second is the typical midlife crisis where, the fast cars, the younger women, maybe they get a divorce, maybe like these things happen, right? Because they have been governed from the outside in. Usually what happens as an underlying current from the outside in is there is a level of chronic stress, restlessness, a deep feeling of dislocation, right, in time and space, so to speak, from feeling connected to the whole, which threatens our sense of safety and security. So we keep trying to take from the outside to make things feel what we need to feel in order to feel okay. And normally those are short-lived. Okay. So this is how most of us have lived without knowing that this is the payoff, right? It's not a positive payoff. It doesn't feel good. And most of the time, if you haven't really started asking deeper questions, you may not even know that you're in this cycle. You're not even connected perhaps with the depth of unrest that is at a deeper level, because there's usually ways that we're distracting ourselves from that and quick fixing ourselves through it. Living from the inside out is a very different experience. So when we're living from the outside in, I guess I'm kind of calling this the fallen masculine, okay? Because it's not an evolved, fully embodied, balanced and whole masculine paradigm, which is what we're moving into. So that fallen masculine, when this is how we're operating, right? Whether we're men or women, right? And take gender however you need to. But you know, the masculine is not a gender, it is a principle. No matter what our orientation is, gender-wise, what happens is we hold all of the masculine and feminine principles and elemental expressions within us. So when we're in a masculine, our feminine is normally and has historically been negated. It has been shamed. It has been in a drought. It has been to not be valued, right? The emotional realm is not valued. The intuition is not valued. The ability and the need for internal understanding has not been valued. You know, it's changed over the last 20 years for sure, but we're still, you know, we're seeing kind of the death rattle of this old paradigm of the masculine, which is why now the feminine it's been here. It's been stepping in for quite some time. Many of us who have been oriented towards the feminine paths have been doing this deep cultivation to prepare for this time. So, and that is to help teach us to live from the inside out, to come home into the warmth out of the cold, to come home and rest in the arms of the Great Mother, to come home within our being, to know ourselves, to understand ourselves deeply, to understand what our lives have meant, and to recognize that at this time of great change, it is our feminine nature, by coming into a deeper level of embodiment, by calling our energy home and devoting ourselves to deeper self-awareness and self-love, to deeper healing, which is why all of the healing work and trauma work is happening right now. Because this is the feminine calling our wounding back to the heart. So here's what I want to say, is that to rebalance this imbalance, the time that's needed and the depth of the feminine connection that is needed to not only reorient us back into a heart womb space and knowing what it is to actually live from inside is not a quick fix, right? The masculine likes things quick and fast and easy and efficient and clear and concise. That is not how the feminine realms work at all. They spiral, they weave, they knit. They aren't clear in the way that the mind wants to be clear, but it becomes clear to the heart and soul. It requires deep nourishment and replenishment. It requires deeper levels of softening the stress, the underlying chronic stress that has been predominant from the masculine way of operating. The activated brain and thoughts and activities and going and doing, right? The activated nervous system. In order to regulate that, there is regulation to operate functionally from a new balance, which is a starting point. However, the path of the sacred feminine goes much deeper than that. And when we go deeper is when we begin to come online, okay, to our deeper intuition, to our deeper knowing. It is when our heart begins to guide us through that intuitive knowing, where we listen to our body, where we know exactly what our body needs in order for self-care and healing, because we are living from a growing space of self-love. Okay? With that, then at this juncture in our reality, only then do we open up to the higher, greater mysteries that are now becoming available to all of us. We cannot get there through the masculine. The masculine is being called to temper, right? To be tamed. To take that fire, that need to prove, right? That need to let that ego construct stay strong. The feminine allows the masculine to begin to settle into a higher expression of him. And this means our masculines, our inner masculines, have a higher expression that need to come online to help all of humanity to create the new realities through the new templates and paradigms that are landing through the vessels of the feminine, through the energetics of the receptivity nature of the feminine, from the coming within, anchoring within. When we're here, we begin to know ourselves deeply. We know the simple truths, such as what feels good and nourishing in my environment, what really expresses my true essence into the world. And the bigger truths, such as what do I stand for, right? How do I choose to love myself when I'm sick, right? Do I feel like I'm living from the outside in and I need to go to work, right? I need to show up because either I feel guilty if I don't, because the conditioning is sickness, you'll get over it, okay? And I'm going to make a video about the sacred technology of our bodies. That what we call sickness is not sickness. Colds and flus, we've put labels on them, but they're very different than what we think they are. And just the fact of pushing the body through is a masculine action that discounts and negates the feminine. Again, and mostly because our survival is at stake. I've got to make the money. I've got to pay my mortgage. I've got to make my car payment. I've got kids to feed, right? All of these things. These are all of the trappings of what we have co-created together, of the reality that we wanted for externalization of our experience. When we're living from within, we recognize that my wholeness and my wellness is the fulfillment, right? When I am whole and balanced and in harmony, I am intrinsically happy and joyful from within me. Outside things are only a cherry on top of the frosting and the whipped cream, right? With what I already have within me. So we practice that self-love. We choose in a very different way than when we're living from the outside in. Inside out means we follow what we know is going to have the deepest reward, not the fastest reward, not the easiest reward, but the deepest reward. And that's going to start with self-love. And that is going to then feed into how I care for and interact with that deeper intimacy with everyone. Okay? When we're living from within, we see very clearly that the old paradigm just kind of wants to keep sucking our energy and our attention and our thoughts, right? By inundating us from the outside in, right? We start to know that. We're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to give my energy anymore. I want to stay with a cup that's overflowing with vitality and vibrancy and truth and harmony. And I want to consciously choose that which deeply resonates with my heart and soul and deepen in that. I don't need information about everything unless it's meant for my alignment, right? So the feminine guides and supports this new dance that's happening on this planet. And as we move through this next year, the age of Aquarius, right? All of this now is all of the preparation for those of us who have been doing this deep work are now ready to open up in a bigger way because more of you are ready to receive. Because you've been unplugging and untethering through your own deep healing work, through your trauma work, through your nervous system work. All of this is imperative. And then we get to go even deeper. And we don't know the end of the depths of our potential at this point. We are just beginning a whole new cycle of reality on this planet that spans thousands of years. So, right? It's kind of mind-blowing. But then again, if you've been on this journey, if you've been listening, it's mind-blowing, but there's also from the within, yeah, I know. I feel it. And I'm ready. My soul's ready. My heart's ready. My life is ready for a new devotion. And that devotion is now to this deeper experience of living from within, connecting to our soul presence, pulling in more of our soul presence. And from there comes deep, 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 deep meaning and fulfillment and presence that will never come from just living through our masculine expression, because it's only half of the coin, right? So with this, I'm going to sign off. And I hope this lands with you. If it does, I will be doing more videos on this topic as we move towards Friday. And if you want to stay in this loop, then thank you so much for subscribing, and I will be happy to move through this journey with you. All right. Many blessings and much love.